Hello, YouTube. I think we're live. If anyone is in the chat, please say hi and let me know that you can hear me. And welcome to the Let's Do Video live stream. This is a special stream off scheduled. We have our weekly Thursday stream, but today we're doing a little bit of a preview because next week is Zoomtopia, one of my favorite events of the year. So I have with me a guest. Let me bring up Laura Marx from Poly. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
And the reason I really wanted, well, I always want to talk to Laura, but someone from Poly in particular, because last year at Zoomtopia, you guys really kind of stole the show. I mean, everyone wants to work with Zoom. Zoom, we don't even have to talk about how Zoom is just, even before the pandemic, Zoom was crushing it, and now Zoom is just unbelievable. And everything works with Zoom. Every headset, every webcam, every computer, every smartphone, it all works with Zoom. But somehow Poly has established itself as the company whose stuff really works with Zoom. How did you manage to do that? I mean, what can you tell me about just your line of products and how well they work with Zoom?
Sure, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. I mean, Zoom is skyrocketing and it is absolutely a darling of the industry and, for good reason, right? It's a fantastic service. And, there are lots of solutions that work with Zoom, but there is a difference when you have an engineering team from a product and software company working with the engineering team from Zoom. So to have things really integrated is really the difference between an okay experience and a top-notch experience. So let me give you an example. So if I'm using a phone and I'm taking a Zoom call on my phone and I mute myself on my telephone, I'm going to need it to mute on my laptop, and I'm going to need that integrated experience. And it has to be identical, whether I'm on my laptop, whether I'm on my mobile device, whether I'm in a room on a room system, whether I'm using a certified for Zoom phone, headset and the likes. It has to be a fully integrated experience. So if I mute myself here, it's going to mute myself on my laptop and have that fully integrated experience that people would expect to be there, but isn't always there. And so we've really been investing across the portfolio to make sure that all of those use cases are absolutely seamless for any touch point that anybody has with Zoom and then a piece of communications equipment.
Yeah, and I learned something recently. I kind of knew about it, but I learned in depth over the last year from working closely with Poly. Certification is a lot more than I thought it was, and this doesn't just go for Zoom; it goes for your other software partners. I thought it was a marketing gimmick. I thought it was you meet with their marketing people, you give them a logo, they give you a logo, you put a little gold seal around the logo. Maybe there's some other money changes hands. I don't know. Maybe you have to get into the partnership program. Is it a sponsorship deal? And then you walk around saying, "We're Microsoft certified. We're Zoom certified. We're this certified and that certified," because your stuff works anyway. But I learned that I was completely wrong. It really is an engineering thing. It is not
Mhm.
a marketing thing. Zoom will come to you when you design your. Oh, I left in the other room. I have a Studio X, and I was going to show it to you. But when you design the Studio X,
You want to see it? I have one right here.
oh
Should
yeah,
I show it
let's
off?
yeah, let's show it off.
It's going to be a little bit awkward, but this is live
No,
streaming. There it
there.
is.
That's exactly what mine looks like.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So what I would think is you guys design that and you say this is how we want it to work and this is how we want the buttons to work and we want when the user presses this, we want this to happen or that to happen and then we'll make it connect to Zoom and that's the end of it. But that's not. Zoom comes back to you and says, "No, Zoom users expect the button to do this. And if you want
Mhm.
us to certify, you need to change your buttons and make them do what we think our Zoom users do." So they almost get to reverse engineer your or partner with you. I shouldn't make it sound like they're bossing you around. That sounded a little rude the way I put it, but they partner with you to really make it a Zoom device, not just showing Zoom video and playing Zoom audio, but from a Zoom user perspective. I thought
That's
that was
right.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and the way that I like to boil it down in terms of what certification means, it means if somebody is using a certified Zoom device and they have an issue with their experience, they can call Poly or they can call Zoom. And Zoom is going to stand by that experience and troubleshoot and help them because they have put their stamp of approval. They know that their engineers have tested and retested that solution, and it is up to snuff for what their Zoom users are expecting, and it's going to have that experience. So they're going to stand by it just as we are.
Yeah, that personally means a lot to me because when I first came into this industry, I was working at Wayne House Research,
Mhm.
and we did a lot of testing with was Polycom in those days, Polycom devices and other devices. Tandberg was a company back then, and they had devices, and it really was you know it was you get the device and you guys can help me with the device, but when I'm calling through a network or something else, you couldn't help me with it,
Mhm.
and if things didn't connect, if things didn't work all you could help me with was the settings on the Polycom device. You couldn't yeah, and there's more to a video call than a camera.
Right.
There's the network. So being able to get help for the whole thing, that would have saved me a lot a lot of headaches back then. But really quick, let's go into your integrations with other services. We're talking a lot about Zoom because Zoomtopia is the big, person in the
Right.
room, and next week Zoomtopia and everything, but, Microsoft has been announced. Are there any others that are on the horizon you could share with us or others that I've forgotten that are already announced?
So for our Studio X, so our integrated video bar, we actually have a couple other platforms that are also certified to date. So we recently announced Ring Central. So Ring Central will be selling the Studio X integrated with the Ring Central service, similar to Log Me In. So the go-to room solution is certified on Studio X. And then also most recently, we announced Starleaf. And so
Nice.
Starleaf has integrated and actually selected Studio X as sort of their default, kind of their premier video solution. So, and then of course, Microsoft Teams, we have solutions that run the gamut across the entire portfolio that are certified on Teams and the like.
I'm glad to see you going for the other players like, like Starleaf. You could have just said, "Hey, Microsoft and Zoom, we got a good chunk of the market. Let's call it a day." But those other companies have differentiators. They are good, and
Mhm.
there are reasons that they're surviving despite the dominance of the big guys. Is because people need different solutions. People need what Starleaf has. Some companies need that. People need what Ring Central has. So I'm glad that you're realizing that they're worth taking the time to make your products work with them because people are going to want some good poly products when they're making the Starleaf calls. Don't
That's
leave those
right.
guys out.
Absolutely. And, there are certainly organizations that are using multiple platforms. And there are organizations that, may switch platforms and they're going to want their hardware to really stay with them and to be able to support wherever they go. Or if they need to make a call to, another vendor or customer who's on another platform, they want to make sure that it works. So it's absolutely part of our strategy to really meet the needs of the market.
Yeah, and we don't want to have to go back to, well, I was going to say back to the old days, but actually this isn't even that old. It was a year ago. I was on a flight somewhere. I was on a flight talking to people.
Weird. That
Yeah,
was a long time ago.
and I was wearing I think it was actually I was on my way to Zoomtopia because I was wearing a Zoom shirt and someone at the airport said, "Oh, I work with Zoom." He was an IT guy, typical
Mhm.
IT guy. At I think I'm trying to think. I think it was EDU, but I'm not sure. And he was explaining to me that every meeting room had two devices in it because they had two companies that merged or two universities that merged, and one was on Google and one was on Zoom, and one was using Google devices, and one was using Zoom devices, and they didn't have a
Wow.
good device that could do both. And I'm like, "You seriously have two meeting room systems in whatever it was, 500 rooms?" And he goes, "Yep, nightmare,
Fascinating.
nightmare." So I'm glad we can get away from that. But speaking of the pandemic, that kind of leads into my next question. When I think of when I think of design for
Mhm.
workplace peripherals, I think of Polly. I mean, it sounds like I'm buttering you up or whatever, but I've been friends with Polly for a long time. But it's really true. And you think about it. Come on, you think close your eyes and say speakerphone, and what comes to mind?
Exactly.
It's the starfish, and that is what I think of as workplace design. But
Mhm.
now the workplace is home.
Mhm.
So I'm still not sure. Do I want something that looks like a office headset, or do I want something that looks like a consumer headset? Is there a difference? Are your design people saying, "Hey, let's make our things a little bit more usable for the home," or are they saying, start all over from scratch. Everything's going to look different. All the things are going to look consumery now. What is the home office going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and it's something that we talk about and are planning for quite a bit. And it's a combination of answers. I mean, the first thing is that the poly design language has absolutely evolved over the past year. So when we think about the newer products that we've brought to market, whether it is the Studio X or some of our new headsets, it really is a softer design, softer curves, softer lines, much more something that would translate into whether it's a more serene office or whether it's into a personal space. And you're going to see us really double down on that. That absolutely becomes our new language going forward for an array of solutions that are coming to market. And there are a variety of solutions that Poly has today that really do make their way into the home and set up a work from home scenario that really set people up for success for working. We talk a lot around, what is good enough for home working, and I think we've all, or many of us, have been in the case since we've been working from home for during the pandemic, that whether it's kids or barking dogs or spouses or delivery trucks or trains or you name it, there's a lot going on. I mean, I was talking to someone this morning and saying, I had 10 people in my house this morning, from cleaning ladies to nannies to kids to husband to, there was a lot going on. But if I was using my, let's say, my Apple earbuds or something like that to have a call, the person on the other side of the call would probably hear my children, and they would hear the vacuum cleaner, and they would hear everything. But you can't hear anything. You don't actually know that. Swear to God, there is a vacuum cleaner going on right at the bottom of my stairs in my office, and you wouldn't know. And so what Poly is able to do is it's able to take solutions, whether it's headsets or personal speakerphones or webcams, and bring the experience that people have known to expect and rely on in an office setting into a home environment in an evolved way. And so I would say that yes, you could just use, whether it's Apple or one of the other more kind of consumer brands, you could use it for your work, but there is a dramatic difference in terms of how you show up for your meetings, whether they're Zoom or Teams, when you have the real enterprise quality solutions that are really made to work and to enable you to show up in the best way possible.
Yeah, I have the ones that go around your neck, the poly
Oh, the
ones with the
6200s. I know, I know.
I love those, and I left them uncharged in the other room. But they have a red cord, and everyone thinks I'm wearing big red hoop earrings when I wear them, which is always funny. But I love those, are really convenient, and that kind of leads into the next question. People, when people ask for recommendations for software or even for cameras, I have generally kind of a short list.
Mhm.
But when people ask for what do you recommend for headset in the ear, over the ear, behind the neck, I say you wear a headset. It's like a piece of clothing. It is personal
Mhm.
preference. So I
It's
think
true.
that's why you guys have such, we a lot of time I tell vendors, consolidate your products. Give me 3 products so I can tell people which one to recommend. Don't give me 50. But with headsets, I think I want 50. And you guys have a lot of headsets, right?
It is amazing, and people get very passionate about their headset choice, and for reasons. And we've done a lot of research on different personas and who needs what type of headset. And I will tell you, naturally, I have probably more than one of everything, but I use all of them for different use cases. When I'm in my all-day work, I'm always using my Voyager Focus UC. This is my go-to. I cannot imagine working without it. I feel like I have something not on my head if I don't have it, because I spend probably 10 hours a day, but I have a Savvy here, which allows me to go make my lunch and go get the mail. I have a different one that I use for walking. The 6200s that you're describing that go around the neck and into the ear, those are my favorite for an airplane, or
Oh.
those are my favorite when I'm using a Zoom or a Teams background, because it doesn't cut off your head. So there are different preferences and use cases. And then, there are also portable speakerphones that I also love that cancel out the noise, where sometimes I don't want to maybe wear a headset, but I still want to have that great quality of audio coming to you. And so maybe some days I'll do that. And and it's you're spot on. It's it's really personal preference, and it's nice to really be able to serve those needs.
Yeah, actually, I misstated. I kind of I made it sound like there's one right headphone for everyone, but it's actually you need a few. I use, these, even though they're just Apple headphones, just because they're wired, because I play guitar through the computer, and you don't notice a 20th of a second of latency when you're talking, but you notice it when you're playing guitar, so I need
Right.
a cable. But when I'm not playing guitar, I like the ones I always forget what model they are, but the ones I described with
The
the
62,
red
yeah,
cable.
the Voyager
Yeah,
6200s,
they're
yeah.
comfortable, I could walk around, I just like in the ear, I prefer in the ears to over the
Mhm.
head. Unless if I'm watching a movie or something, especially like an Avengers movie, then I got a big old-fashioned over the head so I could feel like I'm but it really is, yeah, it really is personal preference. And back to something else you said, I love the, softer. That's what I'm looking for. That was the word you used to describe the design change, and it actually
Mhm.
applies to the Studio X. I
Mhm.
have the Studio X in my living room, and we're trying to get into it, but for ever since I've been in video conferencing, I've been waiting for the living room video conferencing system. It makes so much sense. It's the biggest TV in the house. We got a beautiful, huge TV, and instead of visiting my parents on that every night, I'm visiting them on this. When are
Oh,
we gonna
no.
get yeah, when are we gonna get living room? So I'm trying to, make it happen, but looking at it, it looks like a living room device. It doesn't look like,
Mhm.
"Why is that office thing in my living room?" It
Right,
it it looks like my existing speaker bar. So,
right. Well, we'll help you get set up with that, because the Studio X30 should be able to accommodate that and help you with your
right.
family meetings on Zoom. So,
I
well,
I I think it's the strangest thing that the entire world is like, "No, we can't do video conferencing in our living rooms." I think we're ready. Let's start doing it. That's what they did in the Jetsons, right? The same TV, they watch TV.
absolutely.
Let's get it going.
Absolutely.
So, one more question on the headset.
Sure.
Um, because it's a poly headset, it has the noise reduction, which is so huge working at home. I'm right by a window, and they mow the lawn. They didn't this stream, but it seems like whenever I live stream, that's when they mow the lawn right outside. And you have a vacuum cleaner going that you can hear that I can't hear right now.
Mhm.
Is that software running right in the headset itself, or something you got to download to your computer? How does that work?
No, this is our active noise canceling. So some people are calling it ANC, which is really a must-have in your headsets, from my opinion and from others, because of exactly what you've said. So you can't hear anything going on in my background. I was doing a Zoom webinar about a month or two ago, and I had my 5-year-old in here asking me for paper clips and rummaging through my desk. And I mean, of course, he needs a paperclip right when I'm in the middle of, streaming to hundreds of people, but such is life right now. But nobody could hear him, and it was actually very endearing, but it also proved a really significant point. And that is that when people are showing up for a meeting, for their work, they want to be able to show up and they want to be able to focus. And so it's as much, the ANC is as much for you as it is for me. So I'm blocking out, I can hear the vacuum, which is still going on, by the way, but it's not
It's
distracting
amazing.
me because I'm completely in the zone with you. And I know that you can't hear it. So I'm not feeling self conscious about it.
And that's so important working from home. It's funny, one of the first demos I remember well, the predecessor of this technology, this is going back at least 4 Infocoms ago, but I was at in Infocom, I think it was in Orlando, and I was at the, Polycom booth then, and you had your acoustic fence technology, which is
Hmm.
similar but not the same exact thing. You had a group of people sitting in around, a device, and you had an acoustic fence around it, and it was the convention hall. I couldn't hear it myself
I
think. Everyone's
remember that
screaming,
one.
yelling, and then we went into a soundproof room to call it, and you could only hear the people in the fence. You couldn't hear the screaming, you couldn't hear the people, you couldn't hear the crowd, and I was like, "Wow, this works." But I was also thinking, is Polycom wasting their time developing this? Because when I work in offices, I go into a room and I shut the door. You can usually find a quiet spot. Is the open office thing at that point I was working at home. Are all open offices this crazy? Is this needed? And now it's the
Oh,
most needed thing because everyone is in your situation. Everyone is working at home with someone vacuuming in the next room. It's not a unique situation. So it's you guys were just incredibly prescient, knowing that this technology is gonna be important, and
yeah,
now
and
we
even
need
when
it.
people do go back to the office, right? And we're going to have different configurations, and probably open spaces are going to make people feel a little bit more comfortable than closed offices. And so you're going to want to put your Studio X or your Studio USB maybe on a cart or maybe on something in the open space. And people are going to want to have meetings, and people are going to be walking by, and you're going to want to stay focused. And so that acoustic fencing is still in every video product that we bring to market. And so you'll see it again, and you'll
Yeah,
see it in your living room, when you have a dog barking outside and you can still talk to your parents, and you know
and
wouldn't miss a
definitely
beat.
definitely coming back to the workplace, I'm gonna wanna tear down the walls. I don't wanna be
Absolutely.
in a 4 by 4. Even if we make them into personal workspaces, who was in there before breathing in that room? I want a big open space, so that means I need an acoustic fence around my meeting room corner because the ping pong table is 10 feet away.
That's right.
It's gonna be loud, so we
It
definitely
is.
gonna need that kinda stuff.
Yes.
Um I was gonna keep this short because we loved, videos that are short that people can watch, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. We might have
I
to have
know, this
another
was
one.
fun.
Might have to another one.
Absolutely. Maybe
What
after Zoomtopia, and I can share more about the announcement that we're making, and that'll be fun.
Yes, the things that I'm not allowed to know, that I'm not allowed to ask you, but, last year, you guys really, rocked the house at Zoomtopia, and, it was a big deal. It was a big enough deal that for 6 months after that, every webinar I was in with other analysts, the other people like me that do what I do, we get together once in a while, we get in a Zoom, Brady Bunch, and we all talk about stuff. Anytime anyone talked about Zoom's hardware partner, the first company that came up was Poly. You guys made
Right.
enough noise that and there's so many companies trying to get that into the analysts and into the, people's minds. What do you think of when you think of hardware that works with Zoom? So I'm expecting something good. Expecting something. I don't want to build it up too much. I'm expecting something good this year. Any teasers, any hints, anything?
Any hints? I mean,
Stay
you're gonna
tuned.
like the design. You're gonna like the design. You're gonna like the functionality. It's right in the sphere of what we're talking about right now, and I'll leave it there. But I think I'm pretty sure you'll be pleased.
All right. So if you weren't already excited for Zoomtopia, that's another reason to tune in. Also, I'm going to be doing a session at Zoomtopia, and I'm going to be showing off all my fun OBS tricks. Let me see if we could. What do we have? The kitties will be there. Hi, kitties. Uh,
That's a good trick, David. I like it.
everyone loves the kitties. The one thing I love about the new way we're streaming is that this kind of stuff is acceptable and fun. I used to be really buttoned up and rehearsed and nervous when I would do these live streams, and I put the kitties there as a joke when I was rehearsing with my team, and they said, "You have to keep the kitties," and everybody loves them. So
Yeah.
now it's a more fun way to do things, and a lot of it is because Zoom works so good, because Poly works so good, because the microphones, the headsets, the cameras. 5 years ago when we had to do a webinar, it was a scary thing. It was a scary thing, and now
You were ahead of your time, David. Let's do video, right? You were planting the seeds for these moments now.
I'm ready. Well,
Very
thanks,
cool.
thanks thanks to you guys for making it possible. I couldn't do it without your gear.
Oh,
All right. Well,
thank you.
thank you so much for being here, and thanks everyone for watching. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, please subscribe to this channel, and please tune in for Zoomtopia.
Thanks.